the way with this practice is that kind of thinking can entirely shift. So, as I brought up, one of the most important aspects of this whole system of use is about the breath. So, for those of you that have meditated and so forth, why do you think the breath is important? What would that do? What could it do?
Focus on the breath of me. My mind stops wandering, and then I'm feeling every part and quality inside the breath. And it gives my mind, it calms it and brings it totally inside for that period of time that I'm doing my breath counts. And feeling calms, but it slows the monkey chatter down to one thing to start off with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an important reason to do it right there, is that from what you're saying, in a way, it's as though the breath starts to clear away the divide between the world outside of your body and then the world inside of you. And that's part of the thing, that's part of the aspect that's so graceful about it, is that it's so simple. It's something that we all have who are here. I mean, you need to be concerned if you're not breathing about meditating. That's not an issue at all. But we do have that. And that's fundamental in that way, because everybody can do that. And knowing that you can then actually start to dissipate that division between what's going on out here, it seems to be out here, and what you're feeling inside, can be just as simple as that. Which is kind of, that's one of, sometimes I know there are some people when they're starting meditation practice that have brought up that they go to start focusing on their breath, and then it's, for sometimes it's almost like the first time they've done that, and they notice just like, geez, I feel a little short of breath now. And literally there's some anxiety starts to rise up. Like I can really feel my breath right now, very conscious of that. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, and as a matter of fact, if you start to have feelings like that, is to just stay with your breath in that sense. And what you'll do is you'll just keep focusing on quieting it and just making it more gentle and more subtle. And if that ends up taking you a few minutes or so forth, it's very important to do that, because as you pointed out, it can be this really virtuous circle, virtuous loop in a way, that the mind focuses on the breath, and it seems as though the breath is focusing the mind. And that's a really good cycle to start generating. Because then the more you stay with that, then it really can do that. It really can start to focus your mind single pointedly. And that's the primary now, we'll stay with the good old regular breath. But that's part of what's so amazing is that it literally is this occurrence that we have going on that completely stayed right here. And that's exactly where we want to be, is right here in the present. And that in some ways is almost kind of like what is the most profound aspect of it, is that it can't be anything other than that. And so that's it's just a wonderful relationship. You know, the first time I heard that, you know, I thought, wow, I need to be with my breath now. Is that here it just seems like, okay, I don't really have to do much to be present. To just be present, just focus on it. And that's exactly what it's giving me each and every time. So the third aspect that's going to be essentially what we're going to be doing is the teacher. And it's something that in our particular in our particular lineage, it's central to many of our practices. But as I've come to learn, and in talking to people, of other traditions of Buddhism, and I was raised strongly Catholic, and now what we call kind of spiritual visionism. When I look back, on my life, I can see back how, there always was this role of the teacher in my life, whether it was spiritual or not. And I think that, when you think about it, I mean, have you ever learned anything that hasn't been in relation to another person? I mean, it's something to consider if you ever have struggled with this in terms of, and that's something that I won't go over tonight, but once we begin this process, if you have some difficulty thinking of someone in the role of a teacher, we have a whole wonderful list. This is one of the things in this tradition is this, we love lists. There's a whole wonderful list as to the aspects that you can look for in a person to really identify them in that. But, you don't really have to go that far. I mean, reading, writing, you can go to the bathroom. There was someone who came along and was like, pee there, not here. And those, we kind of in some ways lose awareness of that. But when you start to look at those most basic functions in your life, I thought I came up with that great idea. But actually, I had read that, or something inspired me there, and you realize how everything is always happening in relation to another. And that is what's so really powerful about this practice, is that you're closing your eyes, or maybe you're moving in a half mask, and you're visualizing this person that seems to be of a lot of value to you, virtuous to you. You're placing your mind on them. And someone could easily argue that, well, I'm simply visualizing. That's just it's just a mental projection, a construct that I'm working with. But it's easy enough for probably many of us to think about dreams that have woken us out of our sleep because they seem so real. Sweat, heat, that's happening inside of them. I mean, we really, the argument for that doesn't go too far because we all do have a sense of that. Our visualizations can actually be pretty powerful. And we can mostly identify those when we go to bed at night and we do have dreams. So to be able to take that power and focus it in this way is something that can then really start to help you alleviate whatever problems you're having in your life. And also to empower you in a way to be able to more help others in your life as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of giving them a meditation practice or anything like that. It's helping them do whatever they do with their job. It's helping them whatever they need help with. But this is how it can lead to that. One of an amazing teachers from the Shambhala tradition of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who founded the Shambhala lineage, has a very interesting approach on this. And he talks about that when we think of another person, or the concept of something that's external to us, the way every person seems to be, that I'm looking at Lily, she's sitting there, I'm sitting here. So she seems like this external object to me. We kind of do this small little shift happens in our mind that, well, because there's something external, there must be something internal. Because there's something there must be something here. Because there's a there's a here. And the external object, or phenomena in that sense, can sometimes become so overwhelming that we seem to have all these types of seductive or aggressive qualities that we perceive in this external object, that for one particular reason we construct a defense mechanism against it. And this is where the rub happens, because we fail to see in doing so, in doing just that, building up a defense mechanism against whatever it might be. There's a car coming at me, and I'm in the middle of the street. Or this person seems to be tearing my head off because they are so pissed about something. That actually, in that process of getting into that way of thinking, we fail to see that that's exactly how we're creating the external object to begin with. What's really important here is to realize why. It's fear of the unknown in the most general sense. And we can easily understand this when it comes to harsh situations that we're dealing with and so forth, why the fear arises, in us. But it also happens when there's something pleasurable that seems to be going on about us as well. For instance, if you want to get to know someone better, whether it's as a friend or something more than that, it's amazing how many thoughts of fear can arise in that moment. Particularly if it's someone you're interested in romantically, or even someone that you've been in love with for some time and are concerned about where your relationship is going or something like that. It's a matter of, wow, is this person, do they find me as attractive as I find them as attractive? Are they maybe interested in the same things I'm interested in? Maybe they eat red meat 5 times a day. It's like, what? And it's amazing. We're actually sitting here looking at this person totally attracted to them. And in this moment of what feels like pleasure, all these fearful thoughts start firing off. What that's really doing is, with each of those thoughts that's rising in those moments, is putting another brick into that defense mechanism. And what we'll call that defense mechanism is our ego. And that is, I'm sure many of us can attest to, is probably our strongest defense mechanism. If you look at it, it's behind most of anything that we want to protect ourselves. The truth is that even though the ego, in that sense, when we actually have awareness that that's what's going on, and if you've ever been coming here to the center, you receive teachings on that, like, okay, that's my ego that's rising up right now and trying to, protect something. And we come to realize that, truthfully, that is an illusion. We really can't find it. If anyone finds their ego, please email me. You don't have to send a photo, just describe it or something like that. But this is something that's been going on for ever since we've been around. No one's been able to really find that. And that's okay, because what we've learned to do, particularly with practices such as meditation, is that we're going to use that. We're going to use this illusion of our ego because we've been feeding it our whole lives. I mean, that's exactly part of how we get through every day. And whether we're feeding it in terms of what we consider to be good things, like a job well done, or adulation from a coworker, or hearing how much someone loves us for something that we did or didn't do. We continually can kind of channel it back into that. And this is where the meditation really takes hold. Because if you say, okay, I'm going to work with this, I'm going to work with my ego in this sense, and I'm going to focus it on something that's external to me, which is this teacher. We make that teacher someone that is virtuous, that is something that we aspire to, that we admire, that we respect, maybe even love, because of how they live, how we see them serving other people. And that's the kind of subtle but very important shift into actually using your ego in that way and saying, okay, I totally admit it, I have an ego, and I'm going to use it for all it's worth. And I'm going to focus it on this other person that I believe to be someone that has a good heart, that has a lot of wisdom, and also seems to be living the kind of life that I want to live this time around. One of the important points to go underneath that and looking at it is why. Why we're so desperate to protect this precious prop of the ego. Why is it the fact that that's ground zero for us in terms of dealing in any situation? And it seems to be that one of the truths is that because we subconsciously know that our ego really can't take this life. And that's why we protect it so intensely. It's really amazing when you start to think about that. Because if the ego was the answer to all of our problems in any given situation, why would we protect it? What does it need to be protected for? It has all the solutions. It can deal with the problems. But we don't. We don't trust that. And there is something that is working in a deeper level in our minds as to, you know what? It's because there's not really much there with the ego. And, and when you really place it in the context of what else there is in life, we often can place our trust more in what can take on the hardships of what we go through every day, and every month, and every week of our lives. We can place our trust more in a steel toolbox. We think that could probably stand up to this life longer than the ego did, or a kind word is something that can bear what's going on in this life, or maybe a trusting hand is something that we can place our trust in more than the ego, because we know that the ego can. We do know that from a very deep place, but it just can't hold up to it. And so, the whole reason of using this aspect of a teacher is to be able to let go. That if we really sit with the feeling that we know that our ego could break apart at any time, in any moment, it scares us so much from such a deep place that we feel like we could be destroyed, like that could be it. That's the end of this life. If that goes, I go. If I let go of this ego, then I have no idea what's left. And this could be part of what would be the root of what helps you most in meditation. It's seeing how the projection of this teacher that you're going to focus on, this person, whoever it is going to help you let go of that fear. And what's so great about it is ultimately you'll realize you're doing that. You're doing that. It's not actually this person that you're thinking of, that you're visualizing. You're the one that's doing that. And that is probably, I think, for me personally, one of the reasons why I'm sitting here today is because at first, when I came in and I started to hear about, finding a teacher and choosing a teacher and using that as a meditative object, I had some resistance to that. And then, after giving over a little bit, because everything else I was doing wasn't working out so great, so I thought, all right, let me give this a shot. And eventually, when I figured out, like, okay, actually, I'm the one doing this. I'm the one that's actually, and right there, that's liberation. That's liberation from what was holding you back before in terms of how you can live your life and thinking about your life, is that actually I am the one that can change the situation. I am the one that can change the way this world is working in my mind. And right there, that can be all you need. That can be all you need. It'd probably be good at this point, to really kind of just, talk about what, if any, people have in terms of a resistance to choosing a person to work with. If there's something about that you're suspicious of, or don't understand, or anything like that. Because it really is something that it will be central to the meditation. And it really can be, it seems to be very much in kind of our Western civilization, this kind of aspect of kind of giving over to someone, even though it's just happening in the privacy of your own mind and in your own home. It's like, I don't know. So does anyone have any thoughts or questions about that in terms of, the teacher and what role that can serve? If not, that's great.
Yeah, guess I would have concern about that because I was raised Catholic. I never believed any of that. Even as a small child, I knew it didn't make any sense what I was being told. So I let it go in when I walked up. And I never really got indoctrinated into that belief in religion. I guess I have an issue, probably something I have to reconcile with is bringing somebody else or something else as a mentor kind of status or God-like status, or whatever word you want to put it.
Sure.
And I always wondered why we have to do that at all. If we're all one and we're all consciousness, why can't we just focus within ourselves? Why does it have to be that? Because it is almost like an external, another external thing, but in the mind.
Right.
You're externalizing something within your own mind. So you know what I mean? You're creating this kind of temporal place, and then there's this being.
Right.
Why do we even need that?
Well, I think there's an important aspect there that you brought up about the sense of there being one, or a kind of a universality in the consciousness that we have. And that's really good to work with that in terms of thinking about a teacher, because in that sense, that right there removes the status. The status of that this person is higher or godlike, in that sense of that you're looking at them on an equal plane. As you said, that person cannot exist without you rejecting that person. You're the one that's making the choice that, yes, I'm going to think about my father. Because, if anything, he taught me a few things that I still use, in my life. And I'm grateful to him for that. And in some ways, that's how simple you can make it for yourself. Because you definitely don't want to have that feeling of that the person the way needs to be a mentor or a coach or something like that, if that starts to make you then kind of detach from it then. Because if anything, that understanding of this is someone who is simply a reflection of my own mind. That's all that person is. And that's what makes it so beautiful and so worthwhile. Is that in some ways you can, if you choose to think so, you could say it's one of the best reflections of my mind that I could have, which is why some people choose people like Gandhi and so forth. Is that when they sit down and they think, okay, I never knew this guy, I never saw him, never did anything with him, whatever, but I really like some of the stuff he did. And you're sitting down, and the base experience is that you're just reflecting it from your mind, and you're working with that. And that's how the external and the internal, you start to tap into that relationship. How one thing exists without the other. If you try to say like, oh, okay, this person's out there, and it's not, and it sounds as though you're clear on it. You're realizing that it's coming from your mind, and that's the baseline level you need to work. This person's going to be a reflection of your mind, and it really is very important whoever you choose, because it is who you're going to work with. And you don't want to make that kind of switch. You don't want to switch up that person easily, because what you're doing is that you're laying out in front of you what's going to be like a very rich field, and you're going to plant all these seeds on. And it is almost like choosing your acreage. Like this plot of land is good to me. I'm going to work with this. And certainly in the process, you might start thinking about someone, and you're like, or, you know, whatever, you know, and that happens, you know, you start having these thoughts coming up and so forth, and that's fine. I'd say, let go of that. You definitely want to get to that place where once, twice, 3 times, it's like, yes, he or she is still working pretty good. And then what's good is that once we start doing a particular meditation, you'll start to see that you're planting these seeds in your mind about this image, this visualization of this person that you're projecting. And you start filling it. You really start filling it in with all of this goodness. And that just starts to build up on top of each other. That's why the foundation of the teacher plays the role that it does. And one thing that's so important to remember is that the teacher, that is also just a label. I mean, it's a label we choose to use. But you absolutely can think of it more in terms of, you know, of someone that you admire, that you respect. Just seems like a pretty damn good person. And one of the things that was amazing from Geshe Michael talked about was that he was talking about, you know, you can even choose someone that you haven't even met yet, but you've dreamt about. Someone that's recurring, that is recurred in dreams, or is in some ways kind of your ideal mate, or ideal love, or something like that, is that can work too. It's the same piece. It's the reflection as you work.
Well, it was kind of interesting when I was articulating it just now. I sense that it was the ego that was not like love.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. That is right.
To me, if I think about it on a purely philosophical level, it's fine. But something was really kind of hammering at it, and it obviously felt like
Yeah, I mean, he's so good, isn't he?
good.
I mean, he is. I mean, he's very, very subtle, very deft, you know, how it's just like the slightest thing of like, twice. And that's, you know, that's Reid's visual, because that's exactly how he'll take care of it. He'll take care of it.
Question. What kind of commitment are you making to this teacher? You said you want this teacher to be there lasting for a certain amount of time. Are we keeping this, trying to fix that we're going to be happy with for 6 weeks?
Definitely. Yeah. That's a good margin to work with. But, you know, a couple of weeks, you can even say 8 weeks, like 2 months. If that freaks you out, then say this week. You know, I'm gonna try to work with this. And by all means, if you know, by Sunday, you're like, yeah, this is not working. Then yeah, to make that switch. That's what will be good with this week coming up. Is that you really want to take care of your own mind and who you're choosing here. And you know, for those of you that can be sometimes it's a real good motivation for certain people. What is this like? You know, yes, I will choose this for 8 weeks, and I will be relentless. You know, and for some people, that's how they roll in that way. You know, and that's what drives them, is because they're working more with the opposition in that sense. For others, it's like immediately when it starts to derail, you're like, okay, next. But definitely be aware of what is going on when you decide not to work with that person. You know, particularly if it is someone you do know, or you have known, or someone you knew who's passed on, who's died, but it's loved them or something like that. And if there's something there, so definitely treat that with some thought as to what is it? Just like you just so astutely noticed about your own ego, because usually that's what's going on there. is that the ego, there's something that the ego is trying to tell you that won't work. And so, versus just kind of giving over real easily and saying, like, all right, that's fine. There's plenty of others. I have literally countless meanings that I could think of. You can definitely give that some thought.
So are we thinking someone who we would like to be our teacher, or someone who just kind of comes into our mind that maybe we don't really like? That could be our teacher.
We can like,
We like, not that we don't like, but the values of that person is not exactly the values that you're striving to behold. Is that the person? Okay. So, all right.
yeah, it's,
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're looking for that, okay, dichotomy, okay, no, okay,
yeah,
good.
that's kind of where I was talking about the opposition.
Right.
And that's something that further down the road, when it might not be that far down the road, you know, when you're sitting with them and they just don't want to stay in the front of your mind. You know, they seem to just keep going. You know, you're trying to bring them back. You know, it's just, I just want you to sit here, just sit in front of me. That's all I'm asking right now. And they seem to go off into the sunset. And that's what's so great about this. When you do choose someone who is someone that you do respect their values, is that you can use that in the meditation when you're having those moments of struggle. And we'll get into the specifics of that, where it's like, all right, thank goodness I respect this person. Because otherwise, your mind can go to some terrible places as to, yeah, well, that's the whole reason I never should have chosen you in the first place. You know, because, you know, then you're totally sour.
It's someone we should know personally.
Not necessarily. That definitely can prove to give you a lot more to work with sometimes, because you know one of the aspects of this is that at some points you'll just be focusing on their face, their eyes, and for some people sometimes it's really good if you do personally know them, because then you can get a much more clear visualization. But just as well with that, obviously, particularly if it's someone, you know, now, you can find those images and so forth. You know, and that's, like I said before, if over this next week, you know, by all means email me or something, it's like you're really struggling finding someone. That's no comment on you, where you are in your life or whatever. It's an important choice. So, you know, treat it with that. Because the more power you give that person, the more you're going to reap from that. You know, that's why when you instill so much in a virtuous object, you know, such as who could be, you know, I've thought about, you know, I had a great acting teacher, you know, in college, and that's all that guy did. You know, was just sat there and taught me, tried to teach me how to act. You know, it sounds ridiculous now that I say that, but I have such a singular respect for him in that way that he can work really well. You know, because that's all there was with him. There wasn't any the other BS that can happen to so many other people and you personally know. So you know, it's not like that. Any other questions about that? All right, let's definitely actually let's take a little break right now, and then we'll come back and get into the meditation. Before that, we'll move on. So, get stretched.
Oh, yeah. I'm Stella. Nice to meet you again. Yeah. Very well. Ben. Ben, this is Jason.
I'm saying I remember you guys from the auction. That's true. December.
Yes, we got a Christmas gift. Or we got a holiday.
I gave away your two.
Yeah. It's our friend Jeff.
Hi Jeff, I'm Jeff.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a drink of water before we get going.
Dima.
You have to wash them out, I guess, at the end.
Maybe I do, but where's the water thing? Sorry?
Isn't there a water like a?
Oh, it's right there? Right here at the sink on the right?
I just read
Yeah.
meditation and exercise of whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care, go ahead.
Actually get some sound.
Oh, I
See? But it's terrible. This is what we need.
Oh, so
1, 2. Turn it back.
That's the
Yeah, it's like why are you? It's like why I want to get to that deep meditation that
Yes.
Michael talks about all the time, and I want to get my 1,000 hours in.
Yeah.
So that I can, because I'm a concert harpsichordist. So it's like, I know what you're talking about. Okay, 3 hours a day, because I want to be one of the the whole.
You want the whole
The
enchilada.
whole, yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. Well, and that's what's key about purifying that perception of what you've seen, and because when you do that, when we talk about that, and you do that, then if any type of seeming situation like that were to arise again, your understanding of it would be different. You would have wisdom. You would have a wisdom of how to
That's the idea of the meditation, is to bring
respond and treat what might seem like a very questionable act. And it profoundly has to do with emptiness.
And I've had some Dharma, some of my Dharma brothers and sisters who were hurt really badly by some of these teachers, and it's heartbreaking.
It is.
And so, it's been hard for me to I'm doing a lot of, I'm doing the Kedabche fire thing and putting that stuff in
wonderful.
And seeing some of these teachers arise in my mind and feeling love for them. And it's like, okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah, that is.
But it's still, it set me back. I kind of almost stopped practicing for years. Almost, but not quite.
Okay.
So, and I know, and I had other friends who they gave up the Dharma.
Completely.
And it's like, it's not supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
And, when I go to the FTMP center and I'd go talk to one of the lamas there, and they'd say, Tibetan politics, it's not Buddhism. And then they'd say, we're so sorry. And they say, they look at the text, just focus on His Holiness. It doesn't matter where you took refuge. It doesn't matter. Because, the sectarianism. So, anyways, so it's kind of a little related to that, and just also related to, where I have been for a long time aspiring to go to.
Oh yes, absolutely. Excellent.
And I would love to, get to know you as one of my Dharma family too.
Oh
as a
yeah,
friend.
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So
well, let's shoot for next week.
Okay.
Maybe even before class or something like that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thursdays are now pretty wide open.
All right. Beautiful.
Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. Yes.
Awesome.
You got my email,
Yes,
right?
I did.
Yeah. Wow. I have a question for you. Sure. Kind of going along with John's question. That since it's all one, right? And we are projecting ourselves into this teacher, this external object. Now, I understand that because in a way, when we don't submit to something, it's because our ego don't want to submit. So having a teacher that we train ourselves to submit to is a good thing. Now, is that the only reason? Because otherwise, I totally agree what John says, because everybody is just coming from the same energy, right? I'm breathing, I'm happy. I'm breathing, I know I'm already in the present moment, because just like you said, I can't breathe yesterday's air, I can't breathe tomorrow's air. So I'm very content just breathing and be in the present moment. So for me, when he asked that question, I was thinking to myself, I'm very happy without an object out there, because just like you said, everything is just coming from the same source, and it's my projection. But in the Tibetan, it's very important to have that
it's so great how just even thinking about someone else can cause a problem, for us. Just making that choice, that selection of like, all right, I'm just going to think about someone maybe 15 minutes a day, and immediately there can be issue with that, and that's great because some people were asking questions about it. It's one of the things particular to this path, which is really using that. I mean, I love this in the martial arts, and with Bruce Lee saying to be like water, so that you're constantly. What I love about that is that you're using form, and you're constantly flowing with it. So it doesn't matter whatever we might label as like good or bad, is that you can use it, you can work with it. And that, if anything that can be potentially said about an enlightened being, is that that's someone who can work with anything and everything. He or she can work with that. And not only that, is that they can work with it in a way which causes no harm to themselves or anybody else. And that is just a damn good reason to sit down and meditate a few minutes each day. It's just because you can take that tool all the way. That's why I believe it exists in every major worldview, Muslim, Jewish, Christian. It's that form of contemplation, of meditation, of prayer. We've got so many labels for it, but it's fundamentally sitting down and focusing as intensely as we can. And the aspect of, why is it that we then focus on this object, is because that's what this life consists of. That seems to be what we have a problem with. This object who is my boss, this object who is my wife, this object who is my boyfriend, this object, this is this microphone that wasn't working earlier. I mean, it's all of these objects that seems to be what the problem is. So great. We're going to use that. To the point where it's not some kind of magic show with your mind, like you're trying to trick your mind. Because the mind seems to be running the show anyhow. We can label the mind the ego, and we can give it other labels as well. But the whole practice that we're here to do is to have an action that is very simple and very strong and very clear, that can lead to us having some more peace of mind each day. And it's a little bit more the following day, and you just keep building on it. Till eventually it gets to the point that you are just peace of mind. Your mind is just at peace. And that is what's just continues to blow me away about it, is when all of the great teachers and all of the great traditions have talked about, like, and then it just becomes your way of life. Your way of life. So that's why we're here. And it's very important, as I was just bringing up the amazing Lama Bruce Lee, that is the form. There's something that we can't deny, is that we have this object here, which is our body, and there's a particular way that certainly most of you might know who have been meditating of, as they say, assuming the posture or the position. And it is very important, because the same way that we go to kind of to use the ego is the same way that we're going to use our body to actually still our minds, which seems totally antithetical to how things work. Because, our knee hurts, my back, my shoulder, or something like that. And then, what's amazing is that eventually you see that in using your form, that can actually start to bring you to a total place of quiet, which is existing in your form and existing in your mind. So we're going to look at the posture. And this is something that, is great review for those of us who have been practicing for a while. I know myself that I can't believe sometimes just the most small adjustment that I'll be aware of in just these simple 8 points of the meditative position that opens up everything. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe, I've been dropping my head back a little, my chin's up a bit. And so it's very good to go back over these, and for then those of you who this is brand new, obviously it becomes huge in that way because now you've got something that you can go through every time when you sit down. So sitting is certainly the core here. So the first thing you definitely want to be sitting comfortably. And there are, for many people, we weren't quote unquote raised sitting on the ground. For most of us out here, in the U.S. So it's very, very acceptable, of course, to sit in a chair if that's more comfortable for you. If you do sit in a chair, you definitely want to be moving towards the front of it because, you have the tendency to slump back. If you're sitting on the back, it seems as though when you have your back up against it, but it actually, the way most chairs are constructed, you end up having some drop in your lower back. So you want to kind of move to the front of the chair if you're comfortable in the chair, and have your feet flat on the ground, which also serves to keep you centered. And then, depending on obviously for those down on cushions, you can sit cross-legged in whatever way is comfortable for you. Like for instance, sitting on the knees works for some people. Being in full lotus, with your ankles wrapped around your hips, maybe feels nice and loose. I'm not that, but the bottom line is be comfortable, sitting either on the cushion or in the chair. And now, depending on your how this beautiful form you have, your body, your arm length, this is something that's really good to definitely experiment with. And if you're beginning, you might find that you need to do a few times, which is that sometimes it is very comfortable to rest your hands in your lap, and then we suggest having the right hand on top of the left, and you don't need to some traditions you have you touching the thumbs, but just resting the right hand on top of the left in your lap, if that works for you. I have long arms, so for me it works putting my hands on my legs, on my thighs, and it's whatever in that sense feels right. If you feel yourself your shoulders slumping in, if you're holding your hands in your lap, you might need to move your hands to your thighs. So just experiment with that, find that comfortable position, and then we'll move into what's key, closing our eyes. And there are some people, if you've been practicing for years and you have the tradition of actually closing your eyes to about half-mast or nearly completely closed. Just always remember it's very important to maintain that you have a very solid pattern in front of you. Like for instance, for me right now, I wouldn't do this because I'd be looking at that carpet. Then the pattern right there, the mind can just eat that up, like, oh, that's an interesting pattern. Oh, I wonder how much did that cost? Is that batik or is that Indian? Is it, the mind is looking for anything to put its focus on. But otherwise, closing your eyes completely will work. So let's close our eyes. So the next important aspect is to sit up straight. And to help you do this, you can actually push down with your butt. That can get the spine nice and straight, or you can also visualize someone you love gently pulling a string right at the top of your head, just enough to your back, your spine feels long and straight. Next, you want to roll your shoulders back once, just once, and let them rest. Nice and even. One not higher than the other. Next, you'll make sure that your head is not tilted too far down or too far up, so you can tilt your chin down a little towards your chest if that helps you center your head more to feel nice and balanced. Let your teeth and lips stay in their natural loose position with your mouth closed. And leave your tongue in its natural position up against your palate, right behind your two front teeth. Now focus on quieting your breath and breathe naturally. Inhale and exhale through your nose, and follow it for a count of 10. Count 1 as you exhale. If you become seriously distracted before 10, go back to 1. Balance the inhale and exhale so that they're the same length. Our first goal is to simply go through the preliminaries of meditation, which will begin with tying the mind to your breath. That's all there is. One thing, your breath. Bring a teacher to mind and ask him or her to come and sit opposite of you, where your knees are almost touching. You can feel the warmth of their body. You can smell the fragrance of their skin. You can hear them breathing. Make an offering to your teacher, something as simple as beautiful flowers, golden sunset, or maybe just your respect, your admiration. See them so very happy to receive this offering from you. Now think of something you've done in the last 24 hours that you don't feel good about. Tell your teacher about it. Feel regret about this act. And make a promise to not repeat that act for a specific, manageable period of time. Maybe it's only for the next hour. Maybe it's for the rest of the evening. Think of what you can do to make up for it. Now bring to mind something you did or someone else did that was good today. Be happy and grateful about it. Feel that. Make a picture in your mind of who you would like to be a week from now. Think of the changes you would like to see in yourself and visualize it. doesn't have to be grand. It can be very simple. Ask your teacher to help you become that being over the next week. Help you to make the changes you'd like to see. And they happily agree that they will help you. Ask your teacher to stay with you because you know that you can't succeed at anything without their assistance. Return to your breath. Relax. And you can open your eyes. It's very important that as you start this journey, that you create a situation for yourself that you can be successful on whatever level you want to be successful with it. And part of that is with the people in your life, whoever that might be. People, if you have roommates, your colleagues at work. And most people can handle if you're not going to be around for a certain period of time, if it's predictable and handled in advance. So, try if you can to make your meditation times fairly predictable for them, and it's something that you'll see it really can involve a bit of negotiation sometimes. There might be some people who are like, what is it you want to do? And it's, it becomes very critical that you negotiate what it is you want to do in a kind manner with them, because that as well informs what you're going to do with this. And you can see that when you do that with your meditation, you compassionately negotiate with other people around you, and then they start saying, all right, do what you need to do. It's really interesting how you start to see that changing. At some point, some of those people actually might even start supporting you in doing that. So keep an eye for that. See if that starts to happen a few weeks down the road. Like someone actually says, well, don't you usually meditate around this time? And it's like, ooh, I never thought that, yeah, okay. Thank you for reminding me. And it'll keep building in that way. Geshe Michael says that meditation can be described simply as keeping your mind on one thing, just one thing. That's it. That's meditation. And what we are going to do and continue to do is to visualize our mind tied to one thing. And that's it. It sounds very simple. And I honestly hope it becomes very simple, because there can be some challenges in that. The good thing is that there are some amazing foolproof tools that can help if it's not going so simply, so easy as that. It really, just in the little 10 to 15 minutes that took, for those of you have been meditating for some time or have had a practice, you already know that meditation can sustain you in a way that nothing else seems to be able to do. And that's very important to remind yourself of, particularly when something seems simple or easy. It would seem that the thinking would be, I'll use that when it's difficult, when it's challenging. Let me remember that, wow, this actually gives me a form of sustenance that I don't seem to be able to get in any other way. But what you'll find sometimes is that when we're doing what will seem like a very simple 5-minute meditation, it can become very frustrating. And you want to call that up. You want to call up this, you want to recollect, you want to bring back to your mind of that, this has the potential to do something for me that nothing else can, in a profoundly good way. And that's ultimately to lead to having a happier and healthier life, truthfully. And there's about 2,500 years of R&D to back that claim up. I mean, you can go Google that. You can find plenty of proof there, and it really is something that we've seen how there are obviously many people who have lived without it, and live every day without it, and it's not attributing to the fact that that's the entire reason that they're unhappy, but it certainly could be a reason why they are, is that they just don't have that tool. And this could be a tool that could help them. And it might have something to do why we're all here tonight, and that's what's so important about it, is that we have it here. We have it here. It's amazing the fact that you're here right now. Of course, you can easily realize how many other places you could be right now. But for some very, very good reasons, you came here and you've started this, and hopefully you'll do this meditation, which I'll hand out for the next week, and see how it goes. And hopefully, if you have one single moment afterwards or at some point in the day or evening that you're like, ah, that right there, you know, that kind of sigh or anything like that that feels good because you shut your eyes and sat still and focused and listened for a moment and felt space open up around you and you started to feel yourself let go of time. Excellent. You're doing perfectly fine. If that just happens one single moment in the next week. So that's where we'll start. That's where we'll start. And Lily, actually, could you hand these out here? Here, those are the 8-point posture, as we like to call it, that we went over. As a reminder, and you might quite honestly find that very much so in starting with what we call the preliminaries, that you might have to crack your eye open again and have a look. Or if you're the type that, you know, is really good at memorization, you know, and so you'll study it and you'll memorize it and so forth. Whatever works best for you to start to get a feel for it. I mean, it's simply, ultimately, it's like a piece of music, and you know, whether you're a musician or a singer or not, it's like hearing a song, and you're like, yeah, all right, there's something I like about that song, and so you keep playing it, and you keep playing it, and then eventually it feels like it's playing you, and that's wonderful, because you're no longer thinking about it anymore. So take it easy with yourself this week, you know, in terms of learning those preliminaries. And, you know, the most important part is that you give yourself that time and you start finding that time in your day that works for you, and experiment with that. And then we'll see where we are next week. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. And let's close out, offer up all this goodness. Puki Jukshing Me Tok Tram Rirab Ling Shi Nyen De Gim Padi Sangye Junong Likte Uargi Drokum Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami Dike Wokum Sunam Yeshe Dzog Dzog Shing Sunam Yeshe Lejungwe Dampa Kuni Toparsho. Have fun.